Hello and welcome to the Mums Mean Business online event convened by Business Crowd. My name's Laura Morrison and I am the director of the Game Changer Consultancy, and today I will be interviewing Joanne Dewberry of Charlie Moose about her business journey and combining motherhood with running a business. Welcome, Joanne, and thank you for agreeing to join us today.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. So tell us a little bit about your journey into business and how Charlie Moose all began.
Wow, it's kind of a bit random, really. I used to run a day nursery, and then when I was pregnant with Charlie, we decided that actually I wanted to be a full-time mum, and I didn't really want to go back to a job where I looked after somebody else's children. And I think I was about 6 months in when I started to realise that my brain was dribbling out my ear, and it wasn't as idyllic and it wasn't all about homemade breads and things as I thought it was going to be. And I suddenly realised I needed something to do to keep my brain occupied. And it was just kind of, I was thinking about something I wanted to do, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work from home. And Charlie went to a birthday party, so he's about 6 months old, and had been given this party bag that was just plastic and full of really inappropriate toys for a 6 months old, and there was like loads of chocolate in it. And I just had that moment where I thought, oh God, I could do better than that. So that's kind of how Charlie Moose sort of started.
I love that. So you saw a need in the market because you could do something differently and do it better, which is what innovation is all about, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I kind of basically had a friend who had a shop that I said, can I borrow some, can I buy some stock from you and just do like a bit of a test the market kind of scenario, which I did when I was heavily pregnant with my second child. So I had like a 1-year-old and I was heavily pregnant, and me and my partner went to a couple of fairs and just sold party bags and fillers and got a real idea for what people wanted. And then after Megan was born, I spent sort of 6 months working on a website and learning all of the trade, really, because I wanted to be involved from the very start. So I wanted to know how to build a website, how to market it, how to make the party bags. I'd never sewn before, but I wanted to make the fabric party bags myself. So I really spent sort of 6 months to a year learning all the aspects of the business. Yeah, and then I sort of started online networking with other mums and realised that, I really wanted to meet other people who were in the same situation as me, had small children, were working from home and trying to build a business. So I started networking with my local community, and ideally it was just mums who were running businesses from home. And then in 2010 I was nominated and won the Dorset Business Mum of the Year. And people started then asking me, oh, can you write some articles for our website, giving people advice about running a business from home and having children and starting a business on a really small budget? Because when I first started Charlie Moose, I literally bought some stock from a friend for £50, and that was how we started Charlie Moose up. It was a real, we'll go in with the minimum amount we can and see if it's a feasible business, and luckily it was. So I started writing all these articles and things, and then people were asking me for more information and doing courses and things, and I thought, oh, do you know what, it doesn't really sit well on the Charlie Moose website. So in 2011 I set up my Joanne Dewberry small business blog, which is just about running a business from home, working around children, social media, and how you can do things yourself without having to rely on other people in the beginning, and all about networking and things like that.
And that's a position that many mums who are starting a business are in, actually, because when you've just had a new baby, you're on maternity pay, you might have a fantastic idea, you may have been made redundant. We're hearing more and more stories about women who are actually, whether by fair means or foul, being forced out of their jobs when that event occurs. So out of necessity, they're needing to start businesses. And I think that advice for them on how to actually do it realistically and on a planned budget is really, really important. What's the feedback that you've been having from mums with it?
Oh yeah, my feedback's always been really positive, and I seem to have a really lovely following of people who are really supportive. And basically in 2011, after I'd sort of started the business blog, I wrote a couple of articles around because Charlie Moose is kind of craft based, because I design things and I make them and sell them as party supplies, but crafting isn't necessarily my sort of forte, if that makes sense. It's just I have an idea and I go out and I work out how to do it. I started meeting more and more people who were sort of in the same situation as me, who had craft-based businesses and or had hobbies where they sewed and knitted and you know, made decoupage and stuff, and they really wanted to sort of market that as a small business. So I wrote a book it called Crafting a Successful Small Business, which is all about turning that hobby into a business. And I think we're in a kind of era at the minute with places like Folksy and Etsy, where it's really like it's really easy for mums to start selling their products that they're making themselves, but actually they need a bit of advice on how to price things, because we're really good at making stuff and we're really good at getting people to buy it, but we're not always very good at putting the right price mark on that.
Do you think that that's a psychological thing? Because whether it is crafting or any other business, one of the conversations I hear quite frequently around female entrepreneurs is around pricing, is around value. And that recognition of the value actually that people bring to things.
Yeah, definitely, because I was speaking to a mother the other day and she makes bags and she decorates Hessian bags, and she's a really talented artist. But she was saying, oh, I don't think I could charge people at an hourly rate, because then I would be pricing the bags out too high. And I was like, well, you're not, because you're not just buying a Hessian bag that's been mass produced on a machine. They're buying a bag that you've sat and you've painted with your own hands for 2 hours. Then you need to be charging them the 2 hours of love that you put into that bag, regardless of whether you think that you know, I think you're right. We just aren't very good as women being able to put an actual monetary value on our time. We're really good at saying, right, this is the cost of the materials, and I know I need to cover the cost of materials, but we're not very good at saying, you know, this is how much I should have for my time.
Yeah, I do wonder what that's all about sometimes, really, whether it's a thing that perhaps because we do so much, if you like, around the home, childcare, things like that, that's not recognised and economically valued, if there's something there that's kind of almost ingrained with women. And how do you help women understand that? I mean, do you actually privately mentor any women in business as well as what you're doing through the website and the advice on the blog?
Yeah, I do, and I'm always sort of talking to people as well. And I must admit, if I see something on a website and I think, gosh, you're charging far too little for that, I do email them and sort of send them. I have a very basic, formula for pricing that I'll send over and say, you know, have a look at your pricing against my formula and see if you think maybe you are charging a little bit too less. Because I just think, going back to you saying maybe is it a woman thing, but I think sometimes it can be just a bit of a British thing. We're not very good at being, we're just not very, British people are very reserved, and we're not very good at talking about money. And I think because we're not very good at talking about money, we don't see it as something really easy, whereas I follow quite a lot of Australian and American people on Facebook who are entrepreneurs, and they're women and they're earning you know, millions of dollars, but because they're really good at talking about cash.
Yeah.
And so because they're so open about cash doesn't mean anything to them, whereas we're not very good at talking about money. We would find it really, like a lot of American bloggers, for example, do a monthly breakdown of how much money they've earned and how they've earned it, which is really handy if you'll learn. This is my daughter Olive singing in the background, I do apologise. Which is really good if you're looking, go and take Nanny the phone. So now my phone's going. Go and take Nanny the phone quickly. We're really good. I can't even think what I was talking about now. Yeah, so it's really good if you're looking at how you want to make money blogging. You can go through people's reports and see how they're making it, and then you can replicate what they're doing, which is really, really handy for bloggers. But us British people don't go around doing that, and I think if we did, we would feel really uncomfortable about it.
Yeah, I think it's not just an attitude to money, it's an attitude towards success as well that I think is quite a British thing. And
Yes,
it's kind of
definitely.
almost don't put your head above the parapet, don't shout about your success, know your place. And we really need to kind of break out of that. But I love that you are so direct that you send an email with your spreadsheet or your formula across to these women to encourage them to price correctly. I think that's fantastic.
I'm nice about it. I'm not rude though. I am quite nice about it. I just think the thing is as well, like you were talking about, you said earlier about you know, people losing their jobs and having business ideas when they're pregnant. And I think the thing is, we all really want to have a flexible working environment, and unfortunately it doesn't matter how much money the government put into it or what businesses say, realistically you can't always meet that requirement of having the flexible working environment. So that's why so many women want to work from home. But I think we're really lucky now that there's a lot more people willing to employ freelancers. So even if you were a lawyer beforehand, there's still the opportunity for you to you know, freelance from home, where you have got the flexibility to be able to have random working hours. You know, my children are all at school now, so it's quite lucky, but there's quite a new thing for me having all three of them at school. But it does mean that I can work between the hours of sort of 9:30 and 2:30. But I've done the days where I've put them to bed and then I've sat down from 7:30 until 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know, typing and writing and stuff, because that's what worked for me at the time. And I'm there when I need to go and pick the children up from school early because one of them's hurt themselves, or they've got to go to the hospital or the doctors, or there's a thing going on at school. And you know what schools are like, they always have their come and see them doing some drums at like 11 o'clock in the morning. I mean, how is that helping the people who work full time? But I'm always there to be able to go and do that, and my children are, you know, they know that they're really lucky that I'm always available to go and see whatever they want me to go and see, whereas a lot of people aren't, because there just isn't the flexibility in businesses that they would really desire.
I think that's a really important point, and it's not just if you like creative businesses where there is this opportunity for women, or for parents indeed, to take that opportunity to, if you like, take control of their working patterns and working hours through the freelance economy. You know, because there are so many creative businesses that then need, if you like, finance, marketing, all of those core business functions. There's actually opportunities for people who are trained professionals or virtual assistants, you know, kind of general admin and office skills that you can translate to online. So, you know, there's possibilities. I would say most people have the opportunity, if they want to consider whether working in a home-based business or a flexible business, creating their own thing, is something that would work for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there is so many more opportunities out there, and businesses are getting better at employing freelancers and not ideally, you know, looking for people who are a bit more flexible. But also I think we tend to underestimate our actual skill set. Sometimes we don't realise that some of the skills that we've got can be transferred into other situations. So sometimes I meet mums who think they can't run a business because they don't have any business experience, but actually they've just spent the last 5 years budgeting for their family and their children on just one income. So they've learned how to budget, which is really important when you're running a small business and you're starting out, that you need to have a really good budget going on. They've written business plans without even realising it, because they're constantly doing things at home around their family and learning new skills that they don't even realise that they are doing every day. I mean, I meet people who go, oh, I wouldn't know how to run a business on social media, and I'm like, but you chat to your friends every day on Twitter, so it's no different. It's just a bit of a shift in your mindset.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So with your business, what's been, if you like, the growth trajectory? So you started initially, as you say, with this £50 budget that you had, and you tested the idea. How has it grown from there? Because obviously, I guess winning the award was quite a big transitional point, and it's opened you out into doing the blogging. Well, running, is it running in a different shape?
Yeah.
Great.
No, it's not running in a different shape at all, actually. It's still running exactly the same. And what I really like about having the party supply business as well is that I feel, because at the moment I still feel like I'm predominantly a full-time mum, and although Olive has only just started school, you know, I'm still pretty much doing the mum stuff, if that makes sense. And so I feel like I'm in a really good position that I'm able to try things out. So like when I decided I wanted to start writing a small business blog, it could have just fallen flat on its face, but I'd have just taken that on the chin and gone, well, I've given it a go. It's something I wanted to try, and that's sort of it's finished. The same with writing a book. You know, for all I know, I could have been the only person who bought a copy of it, but it, you know, people really liked what I had to say, and the people still buy my book today, even though it's like 4 years old now. And I feel like that's given me the opportunity to try something different, and like I know I want to write more books, and I've got ideas for more books as well. And I feel like being able to be my own boss has given me the opportunities to try lots and lots of different things all the time, instead of feeling like I'm kind of pigeonholed into one thing. I feel like I can try things, and if they don't work, I've tried them.
Yeah, absolutely hear that, because I guess I've been going for a couple of years now, and things have, things have either worked or they haven't. There's been a mix of both, and it's about how
Yeah.
you pick yourself up, how you move on if something doesn't quite work out. Not everything that you do or execute or implement in your business is going to be a success. It's great when it is. But I think it's that thing, it's about actually getting it out there and trying. I was talking to one of the other mums that I've interviewed, and what struck me there as well was also it's about that courage of just going, do you know what, I've got an idea, I'm going to try it. It might not be the same as what everybody else is doing, but actually it's often because we're different that what we're doing is successful.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think as well, it if you've got a really good support network around you, like my partner is really supportive, and he just sort of goes, yeah, whatever, just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? And he's always there going, oh, just try it. If it doesn't work, you know, what have we lost, really? It's all a learning experience. But I also find that I've met many people who maybe haven't got a support network around them, not just their partners, but even a networking group. See, I've got quite a large networking group of mums in business, but also men in business, and I'm part of the Sage Business Experts as well. So there's always people that I can go to and ask advice, and I think that's really important, to have that network of people who aren't your family, that you feel comfortable with, that you can go and say, I've got this idea or I've got this problem, and there's always somebody there who can help you out. Whereas if you're on your own, because that's what happens when you work from home, you spend a majority of your time on your own, surrounded by technology and people, but not actually, because you're just still sat in your office on your own. It can be really lonely, and it can be really daunting as well. You've got a lot to take on board, but having a network of people that you can go to all the time and have chats with is really handy.
Mm, mm. So that's really one of the things that's key, isn't it? Is building a network as well when you're ready to go out there in business. And if you haven't already built your network, where would you recommend, Joanne, that people tap into to find that network?
Definitely, like Twitter and Facebook are really good for finding people. Like Twitter is really handy if you can search hashtags. So, for example, I'm part of the Dorset Hour hashtag. So that's basically people in Dorset who run a small business chatting. We chat from 7:30 to 8:30 on a Monday evening using the Dorset Hour hashtag, and it's full of small businesses. You know, you get the mix of people who are creative businesses. I live in quite a rural area, so there's quite a lot of farm-based businesses, and then you have obviously Bournemouth is quite well known for its it's a bit of a Silicon Valley area, so there's lots of technology businesses going on there, so it's a real mix. But then also you get to find out through Dorset Hour of any events that are happening. You can chat to other people and arrange to meet coffees and things. So like hashtag hours are really handy, and I definitely would say to obviously follow the Mums Mean Business hashtag this week and see if there's other people in your local area that you can meet up with. But also Facebook groups are really handy. There's lots and lots of Facebook groups for businesses in your local area, where it's literally I run one called Lima Link Up, where we meet in Poole once a month. And we, for those people who find it really hard to get out because maybe their business isn't as flexible the month, having the group where we can just chat and problem solve together in an environment where you feel comfortable enough to say, look, I'm really struggling with this, and you know people aren't going to laugh at you or make you feel uncomfortable. It's a really handy thing. And like I say, these places are out there on Twitter and Facebook, and I think it's quite handy to try a few and see which one you like, if that makes sense, because sometimes networking isn't a one-size-fits-all. Some networking groups that people will rave about, you'll go to and you'll be like, this really isn't my cup of tea, whereas other ones you can go to and you just fall in love with the people there, and you just know it's going to be the best place for you to grow your business.
I think that's very true. And there's a lot of people that say, oh, I can't network. And I think it's just shifting the mindset around that to, it's not necessarily about networking, it's about connecting with people and having conversations.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a real old school idea about networking, that you go to a networking event, you hand as many business cards out to people as you can, you try the hard sell on them, and out of all the people that you talk to, someone's going to buy from you. And that's actually really not what networking is about. Networking is about having that support around you, that if you have an idea or you have a problem or you want some advice on something, there's people that you can go to and they feel exactly the same. So if they've got a problem or need some advice, that they know that you're somebody that they can go to help them out in that time of need. And just having that person to, like having people to talk to, is really important, because like I said earlier, we spend so much time at home in our offices staring at a computer screen and not actually interacting with other people. That it's just about talking and developing a relationship, and then the sales come from that afterwards.
Absolutely. It's about reciprocity, isn't it, within the network, and giving, as much as, what's coming back to you, I think, all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm forever seeing things and thinking, oh, that would really work for somebody in my networking group, especially with things like the journal request hashtag on Twitter. I'm always seeing things and thinking that would really suit one of my friends, and just copying the tweet down and sending it over to them. And I'm not looking for them to buy anything from me. I'm just wanting to network and reciprocate and develop a relationship with people that I know that if I ever need anything, that they're the people who are going to be there helping me out.
Yeah, sounds like you're a natural connector of people, Joanne.
Oh, thank you. I try.
And is that one of the values, is that kind of social value one of the things that's really important to you within your business? If you had 5 values in your business, what would they be?
Oh, that's really hard. I think it probably wouldn't, like networking and developing relationships with people is key, because I find that that keeps me going as well, as in a motivational way as well as a problem solving way. So yeah, and I think organization is really important, because I'm not the most organized person, and I am that mum that like gets to school and someone goes, oh, did you forget this today? And I'm like, oh no, and I have to run home and go get something. I'm really disorganized. But I find that if to run my business, you have to be really organized down to sort of the letter, even just down to how you handle your emails. Organization is really important.
Absolutely. One of the things I find, because I can be a little bit like that. People on the outside think I'm very, very organized, but I can be highly distractible. And what I have to do is build systems that keep me on track. Do you find that? And do you have any systems that really work for you?
Yeah, definitely. I like my I basically organise my day really rigidly, which sounds really random, but even when I only had a few hours and Olive wasn't at school, I still had to organise my day really rigidly. And I really do tell people all the time, you have to have a working day. It doesn't matter if your working day is 9 till 12 and then 5 till 10. You have to have a working day where people know these are your working hours, so you're only sort of available between this time and this time. So email responders are really good for making sure that people know that you're not at work at that time. Having your hours on your website or your Facebook page is really, really handy. Making sure you tell your mother-in-law when your working hours are as well. It's really, really important, because otherwise you're going to end up, especially when you work from home, you're going to end up spending your proportion of time doing things that you don't actually need to be doing, because you haven't organised your working hours. So sometimes my other half comes home from work and he's like, what on earth has happened to our house? And I'm like, no, I had like these 3 projects I really needed to get done today. This was my working hours. Now the work day's over. I've picked the kids up from school. I've done my mummy stuff, and now I'm going to clean the house. I'm not going to do the cleaning the house in the morning when the kids are at school. So then I'm any work in the business, because I spent the day cleaning the house.
Absolutely. Yep, I think you've got to really be quite disciplined about that as well, and not being distracted, particularly if you're at home. Most of my working life, even when I was in corporate, I had days when I was out seeing clients, but I had the flexibility to work from home, and having those boundaries and not being tempted to go and do little bits here and there that are around the house is so important.
Yeah, definitely. And also having a working to-do list that actually works. I mean, I meet so many people who are like, I just don't get through my to-do list. And then you look at it and it's literally just a list of words and or jobs. And you're like, no, you have to sort yourself out. You have to have prioritize your work list as well with dates and times and what needs to be done when, because otherwise you literally will just look at the same list and it will be moving from one week to the next week to the next week because you haven't organized or structured yourself that I've got this amount of time, and in that amount of time I'm going to do these 3 things, and then at the end of that time you know you've done the 3 things. You just look at your list going, I don't fancy that one today, and I don't really fancy that one today, and then before you know it the whole day is gone and you've not done anything.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why the session that I'll be doing later is focus and effectiveness on all of those things, how we do it. And yeah, making sure, I think that is important. Those 3 things that have to get done. I think everybody who's managing to-do lists has got to realise that you have a long list and then you have a short list of what absolutely must get done.
Yeah, definitely. And they have to realise as well that although social media can be an important part of marketing your business, it actually needs to be part of your marketing plan, because otherwise you're just going to sit there all day on Facebook and be like, well, yeah, I did this and I did this and I did this. But actually, if that's not earning you any money, then it's not a productive use of your time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So do you actually measure, do you have things in place that limit your social media? Do you outsource your social media? How does that work for you?
I don't outsource my social media, but I do limit the time I spend on it during the day. I give myself sort of 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes about lunchtime, and 15 minutes in the evening, which doesn't sound like very much. And if anyone knows me, they'll see that I'm pretty much quite active on social media. But I use a lot of scheduling tools so that I'm constantly there and I'm constantly using social media, but actually I'm not there at the time. I'm doing other things that are the more important parts of my business.
Yeah, yeah. So scheduling tools are a real, I think, essential, aren't they, for you to have that presence there on social media. And then, as you say, just go in and do the reactive stuff a couple of times
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah, definitely. Because you know, you can spend just like an hour on Monday morning scheduling in most of the stuff that you need to for a week. As long, you know, I sometimes pick a theme. So obviously it's the holidays. So a lot of the things that I'll be scheduling in over the holidays will be blog posts about working from home tips, coping with children being around, like organisational things, time management posts. So they'll be the ones that I'll be scheduled in. And just throughout the day, I might just pop a picture on of what me and the kids have been up to, just to keep it kind of personal and to keep people engaging, interacting with my page. But yeah, and I like to do that. I like to choose sort of a topic for the week and then schedule in all my posts for the week about that topic, so that I'm not kind of thinking all the time, oh God, what do I want to put on?
Mm. And that's one thing that you use very effectively in the business is the personal thing as well, isn't it, Joanne? It's that mix of, you know, it not just having, if you like, a business voice, but a real authentic voice in how you're communicating. Because that's something that is a tricky balance, I think, for business owners, particularly solopreneurs, to get right.
Oh, that's really nice of you to say, actually. But I just think I'm myself. Like earlier when I said about trying things out and not being worried that they're not going to work. You know, I write blog posts about things that I've tried, and I'll say I've done this. I've done an experiment for 2 weeks, and I've done this, and this, and this. And actually, although it really worked, it took me too much time, or you know, and I'll be quite happy to just tell people this is what I've tried and this is what I found at the end of it. And I think as well, I very much talk a lot about social media isn't a one size fits all. So although you get these people saying that they're a guru in this and they're a guru in that, and you have to do this and you have to do that, it doesn't actually necessarily fit in with everybody's work-life balance,
Mm.
and it doesn't always fit in with your tone of voice. You know, I see people going, oh, especially mummy bloggers, for example. I see people going, oh, this mummy blogger's really popular. She does really well, but she swears a lot, and I don't really want to swear. Well, don't swear then. Do you know what I mean? Just because it's working for her doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to think about your own personality and just be yourself. I talk a lot as well when I'm talking about mums in business about having this tunnel vision, and I think that's probably one of the reasons that I'm still kind of here, is because I do have tunnel vision. I think when you network online, it's very easy for you to see constantly all the time what everybody else is up to, and you can feel a bit deflated and thinking, oh, they've only been running a business for 2 years and they're miles ahead of what I've achieved in the 5 years. But actually, I just keep my blinkers on and I worry about myself, and I'm happy for people who are really achieving things, but I just worry about what's happening in my situation and in my home and in my business, and I try not to worry about what other people are doing all the time, because that's the thing that will suck you in and drain your energies. And what you want to be doing is you want to be thinking about new ways that you can develop your own business, that and your business, not how everybody else is telling you that you should do it, just how your business is working.
I think that is absolutely wise advice. In fact, I posted something similar last week, and the response it got from women, this thing of comparisonitis, where people are measuring themselves against other people who are running A, completely different businesses, but B, are completely different people with completely different life circumstances. And really, we just need to focus on what we're doing and how we're getting it out there and connecting with our own audiences.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, when you've got children, people tend to go, oh, like people ask me all the time, how do you juggle 3 children in a business? And I'm like, but I juggle what I need to juggle. My children come first, and that's how I run my business. And sometimes I miss out on business opportunities and I miss out on business events because something to do with the children has become a priority. Like, I think I've only been to the Theo Pathita's SBS meeting every year. I think I've only been once, because every time he organises it, it falls on something that the children, an assembly at school, a concert or something, and I've had to miss it because I know that Theo probably won't mind if I miss it, whereas I know Charlie's going to be really upset if I miss seeing him in the church service. Do you know what I mean? And I just think everyone has a different family environment, and some people might have extra childcare so that they can run their business, whereas we didn't. We just had the children sort of here, and just kind of did it around what hours they were asleep or friends' playhouses they'd gone to and things like that. I think you can't keep measuring yourself on everybody else because you don't actually know what goes on behind the computer screen.
Absolutely. I think that's, as I say, I'm so pleased that you've shared that, because it is something I see as a bit of and it's almost like a taboo thing that people won't name it. And I was really surprised when I posted some advice on this last week. As I said, the response it got, and the people going, yep, I feel like that too. I feel like that too. And it'd be really nice if we could all just stop doing it to ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why having a network of supportive people around you is really important, because those people are going to be the ones that support you and are the ones that, without even thinking about it, are recommending you to other small businesses and things, because they don't see you as competition. They don't see you as the enemy. They see you as somebody who's working really hard, and that they really admire you and want to be around you, rather than people getting, like you say, comparing to each other all the time. It's just ridiculous.
Mm, mm. And I'm just thinking, the other question that I'd just like to run by you is, with your business, where do you see it evolving to within the next year or two? Because obviously you're going through a transitional stage with your youngest beginning school. So where do you see it moving to, as if you like, the balance of the family and where you're committed as that changes?
Well, I really struggled in the beginning with Olive starting school, because I had this sort of, I've got all these hours, and I spent probably the portion of September to December procrastinating like a pro, because I just didn't, I had been so used to having these short, sharp bursts of working time, that having this really long period of really, I found it really hard to make that adjustment. And now I feel like I'm in a really good mindset, and I've got my my organizational plans in way. I know what I'm doing every day. I know where I'm going to be every day. I've got stuff scheduled in. I'm really organized again. And what I'd really like to do is you know, I wrote my first book in 2011 and it was published in 2012, and now we're on 2016 and I still haven't written that really difficult second book yet, and I've got all these other ideas for other books, and I just really I want to have like a plethora of books that I've written, and I just need to get them all out of my brain, to be honest. So that's something I want to work on for the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds really, really exciting. And I think that is one of the things, isn't it? Particularly if you are running a business around children, is you find that as they grow, things do flex and they do change. So, you know, if you've got a toddler, their nap schedules are going to change, or what they're doing is going to change, and you need to be able to either plan for it or move with it and look at how you're going to use the opportunities that that change brings.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think, you know, although you have like the school hours, as soon as the kids are home from school, there's no way you can work. But for me, there's no way I can work because I'm always ferrying them over to different activities and after school clubs and swimming lessons and dance lessons. And so by the time I actually sit down of an evening, the last thing I really want to be doing is working. So, you know, I just want to like reboot myself, and I like to spend the evenings reading. I don't want to be sat during my working hours reading about current affairs and reading about the changes to Instagram and reading people's blogs and stuff. I want to be doing that in the evenings over a cup of tea, chilling on the sofa. So yeah, I think I can't remember what I was going to say. Yeah, so I think like life just evolves and you just kind of have to go with it. And but for me, that's one of the beauties of having my own business, is that I can be as flexible as I want. The person who sets the goals is me, and the person who gets told off if they don't reach their own goals is me, and the person who makes the decisions and changes my business plan is me. And so I don't feel like I'm answerable to anybody except for myself.
Excellent. And what advice then would you give for women who are in this stage of thinking about setting their own business up? You know, maybe they've found themselves on maternity leave and they're just toying with the idea because they'd like to do something different.
I would say my biggest thing would be just go for it, just try it, because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's always something else around the corner. But if you sit there and in 10 years time go, I really wish I'd done that, you're probably going to be too late and have missed the boat, and your life won't be in that bubble where you can give things a try. I'd also recommend doing as much research as humanly possible. And research isn't just sort of sitting on the computer and seeing what other people are doing or checking out other people's prices or their products or their ranges, or you know, research is also going to networking groups and seeing what support network is out there for you if you do have a business. It's also doing testing the market situations. I always suggest doing test the market situations. I mean, like I said, ours was a little bit random. There's me and my other half. I'm heavily pregnant and we're carrying and then we've got a little 1-year-old in a pushchair with us trying to sell party supplies at different events. It was a little bit random, but it was that time where it was the only opportunity we had to do it, and then we could spend, once Megan was born, I could spend some time actually going through our sales, looking at what products worked really well. At my test the market events as well, I sold all the products for different prices. I tried different displays. I did loads and loads of different things, and I had really detailed notes that when I was just sitting sort of, you know, with a newborn baby, I could go through all of my notes and really make a decision on where I wanted to be and what was going to work and what prices worked and what products worked, so that when I sort of launched the business officially, everything was ready.
Absolutely. And it's important, you know, that time actually when you have got a newborn doesn't necessarily mean, or when you're expecting, doesn't mean that you can't be planning for and working on the business. I mean, I've just gone through the same experience myself, kind of as I came into my second year of business. And it was really good to actually go, do you know, rather than doing the things that are in front of people, let's take some time to be strategic, to reflect, and as you say, that research piece. You know, we can always be moving things forward. So that's fantastic. So thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed today, Joanne.
Thank you for having me and listening to me waffle.
No, it's been absolutely fantastic. I think there's absolute nuggets in there for any women who are either already running a business or wanting to run a business, or indeed dads as well.
Yeah, definitely. We get quite a few men come to our networking events, because I think there's quite a few men who actually do work from home as well, and there's quite a few that like to share the childcare. So and there's quite a few men that work in businesses that are around women as well, if that makes sense. So we've got quite a few men that come to our events, and one of them owns a parenting magazine. So for us, we're not only his our ideal market. He wants parents to read his magazine, but we're the people who are running the events that he wants to sell he wants to sell advertising space to in his events. So for him, we're like the perfect people for him to network around all the time.
Mm, that's wonderful. So, how can people reach you and connect with you on social media and find out more about what you do, Joanne?
Well, I'm on Twitter as Charlie Moose, and most of my social media stuff is under Charlie Moose. But with Facebook being quite a different platform, if they wanted to hook up with me on Facebook, my Facebook page is facebook.com/joannedewberry.co.uk, and that's where all my small business advice is, because I found it really easy to run any other social media platform through both businesses, but because Facebook is so different, I couldn't be selling party supplies and chatting about small business on the Facebook page at the same time. So yeah, Facebook, I'm under joannedewberry.co.uk, but everywhere else it's just at Charlie Moose.
Lovely. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.